All right. Hello and welcome to the first solution video for the second cryptic mini-cryptic crosswords. I'm going to do one of these videos for each of the cryptic crosswords I've made so far, as I feel like they're just a good method of explaining the wordplay that might have been lost on you. Some clues will just be solved by a series of deduction based on the letters, but I feel like it's nice to just show the thought process behind some of the clues in case they were lost in translation when solving. Yeah, let's check out this first one. Definitely one of my favorites out of the series I've made so far. Starting with one across, we'll work our way down through these. I won't do them based on what letters are filled in. We'll just go one by one. So to start off with, we have "I don't know, messed up child." Pretty funny sentence to start off with for a crossword, but straight away you'll see it's 3 letters. You might look at "I don't know" and think maybe there's a word for it. Child is definitely the one that pops up the most. Usually definitions tend to be nouns more commonly. Verbs are a bit more rare. But yeah, "I don't know." You might abbreviate that to IDK in text format. That is a accepted abbreviation. And if you write IDK and mess it up, you might end up with the word kid. Going to 3 across, we have "couldn't finish read due to scary sound." 3 letters again. Straight away, looking for the definition, you might be thinking couldn't finish sound, scary sound. You might be looking at sound thinking homophone indicator. But for this one, the definition is scary sound. So the cryptic part is "couldn't finish read." And due to could be connection words. If you think about what a read could be in this scenario, if you couldn't finish a read, you might be thinking a book. And if you couldn't finish a book, you might end up with boo. Just a scary sound. We have 5 across. Make organization, enter finance case. Some of these words might jump out to you if you've solved a few cryptics. You might see enter, which is a contents indicator, as in like another word goes into another. And the other word that might pop out to you is case, which can mean the outside letters of a word. And in this case, that would be FE. And then we need to make organization enter that. And organization might be org as in .org. And if you plug that in, forge is another word for make. Moving on to 6 across, we have tests, echo, max return from stone opening. And that paints a picture of, I don't know, shouting into a cave and seeing how soon or how far the echo goes. But for this, the definition could definitely be stone opening. Tests looking like a better one. If test was a definition, it's always a good indicator to check if you had this word, if it ends in S, because the answer would also be plural. And in this case, tests is the definition. Echo might be a word that some cryptic users might recognize, and that's one of the NATO alphabet characters. E for echo, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo. Max return, return being a reversal indicator. So if you return the word max, you get ZAM, and it already looks like a word. And since you know it's going to be plural, we can gather that from stone opening is going to be S, which it is, the opening of the word stone. 7 across, use convoluted process. And I'm a very big fan of these types of clues. Simple premise, simple phrase, but nice little cryptic hidden inside of them. Our answer's 3 letters. We have a word that's 3 letters. That's usually a good sign. Convoluted, definitely looking like an anagram indicator. And if you convolute the word use, you could sue, because sue is a process. Then we have 8 across, scrape the top off of light beer. Definition here, scrape maybe, beer, light beer. Looking for indicators, scrape being the verb here. Scraping the top off of, definitely looking like a delete the first letter type of cryptic. And if you think of a word for light, that would be 4 letters. That if you scrape the first letter off, you end up with a name for a beer, or a type of beer, or a synonym. You might get pale for light. And if you scrape the first letter off of pale, you get ale. Then we're going down to the down clues. Officers report corny pieces. You might be able to gather this from the letters I've plugged in so far, but the indicator here is definitely one of the tougher ones to spot. Report being the word we should look at. Report can obviously mean like to report a crime, like you might imagine in the story of the officer, but it's actually a homophone indicator, as in to report news or to report a sound or to report something to somebody, so to say it out loud. If you think of a word for officers that you can say out loud and it means corny pieces, and of course the question mark meaning it's not a direct definition, but it's not incorrect to say this, you might end up with the word colonels for officers, and then when you say it out loud you'll realize it sounds like colonels, as in corny pieces. Heading to 2 down, collapse from fed back, exaggerated tale. Definition here, a little bit tougher to spot. We have a verb at the beginning, we have nouns at the end. Instantly, what my eye would be drawn to would be fed back. That's looking like that would definitely fit, but regardless, back is a reversal indicator. We'll plug in that, so we'd have fed back, which would be DEF, and exaggerated tale. Exaggerated being an anagram indicator, and we can plug in this scenario, the only possibility that's left, late, so deflate, which means to collapse. Bachelors of mixing stir coffee maker. We have mixing, stir, coffee, and maker. Bachelors being an abbreviation. If you ever hear somebody has their bachelors, you hear they have their BA. Mixing, stir. Mixing being an anagram indicator. So if you mix the word stir, in this case, it's going to be like this. And then you have the A at the end before coffee maker. So that just goes in as it is. And we end up with barista, which is of course a coffee maker. And the final one, watch Edgar scratch head about stanza. One of my favorite clues, personally. Just comes together. Until you type the last letter, I find not many people will actually see the answer, but tough to figure out what the definition is here. Watch can mean a lot of things. It could be to watch on like a timepiece. It could be watches in to look at something. Stanza. Not many words come to mind for stanza, but one of the words that might come to mind is verse. And if you get verse, you would be correct in thinking so. But the issue is, how do we get the other 2 letters? And that's going to be Edgar scratching head or scratch head. Scratch head. Head especially being the leading letter of a word. So if you scratch the first letter of Edgar, you get DGAR, which is a bit too many letters for us to have. But Edgar, of course, in this sentence, making you think of Edgar Allan Poe, the poet, which is where the stanza leans into. So if you get rid of the first letter of Poe, you end up with OE, and that goes about stanza. So OE goes around the verse. We can type that in. And we end up with the word oversee, which of course means to watch.